The key to mastering Assassin's Creed Shadows' combat system lies in learning enemy movesets and having a thorough understanding of what's available to you as you build your characters. Whether you're playing casually or cranking up the difficulty all the way to expert, you'll encounter plenty of situations where a little preparation and know-how goes a long way. In this guide, we're going over the entire combat system in Assassin's Creed Shadows to help you put the expert in expert combat. And be sure to stick around to the end for some amazing tips to help you polish your build and become the master assassin you were meant to be. On easier difficulty settings, there's plenty of room to make mistakes. But on expert combat mode, you'll need to have a firm grasp on several key elements of the game's combat systems to be successful. These elements include defensive maneuvers, posture attacks, adrenaline, and afflictions. And of course, you'll also want to have an idea of how you want to build your characters. Of course, while becoming proficient in offense and defense will take some time and practice after watching this video, a strong build can be done early on and set the foundation for the skills you'll be introduced to in this guide. The best builds will be aiming to exploit one or more of the aforementioned combat elements, so keep that in mind when choosing masteries that suit your playstyle. With that said, let's dive deeper into these mechanics, starting with defensive maneuvers. When attacked, you'll have two primary ways of defending yourself. Both characters share the ability to dodge, but differ in their blocking techniques. As Yasuke, you can either hold down the block button to nullify damage from most attack types, including the blue flurry combos, or you can attempt a well-timed block, which results in a parry. If you successfully parry, you'll not only deflect the attack, but also apply vulnerability, which is an effect that causes the target to glow and become highly susceptible to light posture attacks. Naoe's deflect works the exact same way as Yasuke's parry, including applying vulnerability. However, she can't maintain a defensive stance like Yasuke can, making failed deflects quite punishing, giving Naoe's lighter armor and lower ration capacity. Now that you know how to survive most attacks, let's talk about the posture attacks you'll want to follow up with. Posture attacks are a key technique you'll be utilizing in tandem with your basic light and heavy attacks. They work by holding down either the light or heavy attack button until the weapon shimmers, then releasing when you're ready. In addition to exploiting the enemy's weak point after becoming vulnerable, you can also use posture attacks to break down an enemy's guard. For weapons that are capable of AoE, the heavy posture attack usually has a larger radius, making it much more effective when taking on groups. Attacking and defending against enemies builds adrenaline points, which are consumed to use your active abilities. These abilities are essential to most builds, and you can assign 2 active skills for each equipped weapon, and 1 skill for the character's respective class, Shinobi for Naoe and Samurai for Yasuke. By using active abilities, you can of course expect increased damage, but you'll also expand each character's utility, such as being able to slow down time, auto-dodge, self-heal, knock back or knock down enemies, exploit armor and weak points, and apply afflictions. Regarding afflictions, there are 3 different types, which are Daze, Poison, and Bleed. Daze slows down the enemy's reaction time, shortens their combos, and sometimes causes them to outright miss, giving you more opportunities to deal damage. Poison causes the target to vomit, incapacitating them for a short duration and dealing a small amount of damage over time. And finally, proccing a bleed briefly staggers the target and deals a large chunk of damage all at once. Afflictions can be learned to be applied through masteries, but you may also notice that some weapons you find come included with them. That just about wraps up all the core mechanics of Assassin's Creed Shadows' combat system. By practicing with the knowledge contained in this guide, you'll be well on your way to a streak of successful raids on restricted areas. And as promised, here are some pro tips to help you with your build and optimize your playstyle. Number 1. Get your knowledge points as quickly as possible. To create a build suitable for expert combat, you'll need to acquire both mastery points for slotting in skills, as well as knowledge points to unlock higher mastery tiers. You can get these by finding lost pages in temples, praying in all locations at the shrines, exploring coffins and hidden trails, doing Kujikiri with Naoe, and completing horse archery and kata with Yasuke. Number 2. Gear is king. Early on, we highly recommend choosing the highest rarity gear for your current level before prioritizing stats, as each level gives a considerable boost to the number of total stats you receive. It should be noted that certain stats will be prioritized based on your build, but generally speaking, most gear falls off after just 1 or 2 levels. So be sure to visit local vendors and complete side content regularly to keep your gear up to date and also to hunt for legendaries. But if you're just really attached to a piece of gear, especially in the case of build-defining legendaries, you can build and upgrade a forge in your hideout to bring those pieces of equipment up to your current level, at the cost of some of your cash and materials. Number 3. Fight enemies at or below your level. In the open world, you'll often come across a new location and want to jump right in, but be sure to check the map and see what level the area is first. Each location is suited for a specific level, and if you're under the recommendation, enemies will either be resistant or even immune to assassinations, and will take a while to dispatch and head-on combat. The legendary chests you can loot upon completing these locations will be for your current level, but the elites you'll need to defeat in those locations will only drop gear at the level for that location, rendering the majority of the gear you'll get unusable for a while. Leveling up happens quickly in Shadows, so if you find a castle that's well above your level, there's no need to worry. By doing other content at your level, you'll level up naturally and gain plenty of mastery points to expand your build, in addition to new gear and materials for your hideout. And before you know it, you'll be back to claim the spoils once and for all. Number 4. Spread out your mastery points. Assassin's Creed is all about adapting to new situations, and your build should reflect this as you progress. While you can freely change mastery points around while out of combat, it can be tedious if making drastic changes on a regular basis. We recommend focusing on one weapon to start while building up both characters' fundamental skills in the Shinobi, Assassin, and Samurai trees as situations arise where certain skills become useful. This way, if you need to change weapons, you can focus on just removing points from that weapon's tree and putting them elsewhere while leaving your fundamentals intact. Number 5. Harness the power of global passives. Even if you're not keen on a particular weapon, be sure to check out their skill trees. On the left side of the tree, you'll find a handful of passive skills that apply to any weapon for that character. These skills are easily overlooked but provide massive bonuses when you're ready to push your build to its limits. Number 6. Don't be afraid to run. Assassin's Creed games are notorious for cheesing your way both in and out of combat. If you encounter a situation halfway through a mission that you feel you might be underprepared for, there's no shame in running. While outside of restricted areas, you regenerate health, so even if you're out of rations, you have another chance to get back in and finish what you started. Number 7. Leverage your legendaries. For our final tip, and to cap off the video, be sure to consider your legendary equipment closely alongside your build, as there are some high value perks you can find early on to completely eviscerate all who stand in your way. Not only can you upgrade, but you can also engrave additional perks on these pieces to keep them relevant as long as you have the resources available in your hideout. If you'd like a good place to start your collection, we suggest picking up the Shinobi's Fury Tanto for Naoe, which you can get as a reward for completing the Golden Teppo main questline. It's especially good as you can basically stunlock enemies with it, and having a Tanto in general is amazing since you can double assassinate with it, provided you have the mastery points allocated. And for Yasuke, the Protector's armor is absolutely insane. You can get it by claiming the legendary chest in Nijo Palace, located in Yamashiro in the city of Kyoto, which is right here on the map. It's only a level 17 castle, so if you've leveled up enough with Naoe before unlocking him, you should be able to get it right away. By simply equipping this piece, Yasuke becomes capable of parrying unblockable attacks, which is something Naoe can only do at knowledge level 6 and requires her to use a katana. With these tips, you're ready to practice and begin mastering expert combat in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Only one question remains. What kind of build will you go for? We'd love to know in the comments, and for more guides like this one, keep it here on IGN.